Hello YouTube and welcome to another Proxmox tutorial. So in this video I'm going to show you how to back up any virtual machine on Proxmox using Veeam. So are you ready? Let's get started. So first thing first, what is Veeam? So if you don't know, Veeam actually is a solution that can allows you to back up and recover any virtual machine. Okay, so if you go actually to the main website of Veeam, you can see here Veeam Backup and Replication Community Edition, because actually you can download a free version of Veeam Backup and Recovery, but there is also an enterprise paid version. Okay, so as you can see here, Veeam Backup and Replication Community Edition is the must-have free backup software to protect virtual, physical and cloud workloads. So you can also back up your virtual machine on the cloud if you want. So this free gift from Veeam can protect up to 10 workloads. So it supports actually VMware, Hyper-V, Windows, Linux servers, laptops, NAS and more. Okay, but one of the features that actually we're gonna use is actually to back up Veeam or actually virtual machine on Proxmox, because on the latest version of Veeam, which is 12.2, it can natively support Proxmox, and we're gonna see that. Okay, so after you have downloaded this community edition of Veeam, you will actually install it and launch what we call the Veeam Backup and Recovery console. Okay, so I will show you here. So this is the Veeam Backup and Replication console. So the installation is pretty straightforward. It's a couple of next. Actually it's the wizard which help you to install it very easily. Okay, so here I'm using the Enterprise Edition, but with the Community Edition it's the same. The only difference is that it is limited. Okay, so here as you can see, I have a Proxmox running on this address here, 192.168.1.201, and we're gonna try to actually back up a virtual machine or container here just to see how we can use that using Veeam. Okay, so after you launch your Veeam Backup and Replication console, the first thing to do is of course to add your server. Okay, so here we go, we click on virtual infrastructure and we add our server, which is in this case Proxmox. And here you can see that in this version, which is 12.2, they have added natively Proxmox as a backup server that you can also back up. Okay, so here all you have to do is to choose this option here, Proxmox virtual environment. So I'll click on it, and here we have to provide actually the DNS name or IP address of our Proxmox. So on my case it's 192.168.1.201. Okay, then we go next, and of course we have to add the credentials. So let's add our root account and make sure to add the correct password. Okay, and we'll go okay, then we go next. So now we have this window here, which actually allows us to trust the SSH key fingerprint. So I will just hit yes here. Okay, and I will continue. So now Veeam Backup is actually doing some checks. So now we are on snapshot storage. So here we have to choose the storage for the snapshots. So me, I'm using storage calls actually storage, so I will use it, but you can use whatever storage name you have. So on my case, my storage name is actually also storage. So I will select it and I will apply. So now we have to wait for the required operation to be performed. And as you can see here, it was our Proxmox server has been successfully registered. Okay, so now we go next and we finish that. Okay, so after finishing, you see on the left pane that our Proxmox virtual environment has been added. So in order for Veeam to perform its backup, it needs what we call a worker. Okay, so a worker is actually like a proxy that will help actually Veeam to back up any virtual machine. So you must deploy actually this worker virtual machine inside your VM, inside your actually Proxmox server. So here it asking me, do you want to deploy a worker on my Proxmox virtual environment? So I will hit yes. And here I have to provide, of course, the host, which is chosen by default as my Proxmox IP address. And here I have to provide a name for it. So let's call it PVE worker. Okay. The storage where I want to actually register this worker. So I will choose my storage name here. And here we go. I will hit next. You can choose or leave the max concurrent tasks as it is. So I will go next. So remember, my worker name is PVE worker. Okay. So here we have to add our networks. So let's add it. So here we can choose the networks that I have on my Proxmox. So I will choose the default one, which is VMBR0. So this is by default the one which is chosen by default on my Proxmox. Okay. Next, we can obtain IP address automatically, and or we can use a specific IP address for this worker. So let's give it specific IP address here. So I will choose 192.168.1.200, for example, 3. Okay. So the default subnet mask will be 255 actually, and 255.0. Okay. I can also give it a default gateway if I want. So this is the IP address of my router here. Okay, but you can also choose to obtain IP address automatically if you want. Okay, here we go. So let's apply this. Okay, we need also as you can see here, a DNS server address to proceed. So as you can see here, the DNS server addresses are obtained automatically, but we can just specify that. So let's give it the Google DNS IP address, which is 8.8.8. Okay, so now let's apply that. Here we go. We have summary of our worker. So the amount of number of virtual CPUs, the concurrent tasks, and of course the IP address that we have actually given with the network name. So let's finish that up. So you can see now the test working PVE worker in progress. So now as you can see, everything was successfully configured. Okay, so after this step, we have everything we need now in order to start the backup of any container or virtual machine on our Proxmox. Okay, so let's do that. So here, if I return to the main or the home, I can here choose simply backup a job. Okay, so I will backup a virtual machine, hopefully. So this is our main window for our new backup job. So let's backup a container actually, but you can also backup any virtual machine that you want that exists on your Proxmox server. Okay, so let's just name it backup 01. So I will go next. Here we have to add our virtual machine to backup, so I will click on this add button here. Of course here it will display the IP address of my Proxmox server, so I will just hit here in order to see all the VMs and containers that I have that I want to backup. So let's choose one randomly. For example, let's choose for example this Ubuntu 24.04. okay, so I will just select it and I will hit OK. So the virtual machine is being chosen. You can see the size of it, it's 32 gigabytes. So I will hit next, and here you can choose the backup repository. So by default it will choose mine, which has a lot of actually disk space. And here you can also choose the retention policy, which is 7 days for me. You can also go to the advanced tab and configure anything you want, but me, I will stick with the default, so I will go next. Here you can run the job automatically, so you can choose to run it, for example, daily at 10 p.m. or you can choose it on weekends or on specific days, so depending on your needs. But me, I will just run it once just for testing purposes, and I will apply that. Okay, so now the job will be created. And here we go, everything is ready in order to actually backup this Ubuntu 24.04. So all I have to do is to run the job when I click finish. So you can check this box here if you want to run the job immediately, and I will hit finish. And you can see here, of course, the status of my backup job here. And here you can see, of course, I have one job that is running. Okay, and of course you can see now the job progress and the different actions that had been performed. And of course you can also hit this statistics button in order to get more details on what's going on your backup here. Okay, so we'll wait for the process to finish, then I'll show you how we can actually restore it once again on our Proxmox. And if I return back to our actually Proxmox here, GUI, you can see that indeed PVE worker virtual machine has been created. Okay, this is the one that is plays as a proxy in order to permit the backup of any virtual machine. Okay, so now you can see that status of our backup is, as you can see here, it's success. So we have successfully backup this virtual machine Ubuntu 24.04. Okay, so I can simply restore it if I want. So I will show you how to restore any virtual machine. So you go to your home and simply you hit this button here, restore, and you can see that I get actually an option to restore a Proxmox VE virtual machine or container. Okay, so we have here different options. The first options is the one that we have to select. So we have to restore actually an entire machine, so I will select it, and of course I will restore from Proxmox VE Backup. And here we go, you have this virtual machine to select, so I will just add one. So of course it shows me the backup name that I have actually configured. So of course we want to restore this Ubuntu 24.04, so I will add it here. Then I will go next. So here we have two options. We can actually restore to the original location, which means we want to overwrite the old one and restore this new one from backup. Okay, or we can restore to a new location with different settings, so it depends on your needs. If you want to start from actually not 10, you can just restore to the original location, but in this case the old virtual machine will be actually overwritten. But if you want to keep the old one and create new one in a new location, you can also do that. Okay, using this option here, restore to a new location. So let's choose this second option here because I want to keep my old one. And of course here we have to here configure the host. So this is indeed Ubuntu 24.04. Storage also we keep it in the default one. And here we have to give it a new name, so you can choose what new name you want to give to your new created virtual machine. So I can just use it whatever I want here. I will just add Veeam in order to distinguish from the old one. Okay, and I will go next. Of course here also we can keep the default network or choose any network that we want, so I will just keep the old one here. Here we can just write something about the restore. Okay, so we have everything now in order to restore the old backup to a new location. And here you can see a new job will be actually created. Actually it's a restore session that will be created in order to be restored from all the backup. Okay, so of course here it will prepare the worker. So the worker here is, as I told you, it's very important because it plays as a proxy between your Proxmox and Veeam. Okay, and if I return back to our Proxmox GUI, you can see that now that this PVE worker has been started in order to allow the restore process to begin actually. And now you can see the processing of restore parameters also they are in progress. So if I return back once again to our Proxmox GUI, you can see that the virtual machine has been created with the name that we have given to it, which is Ubuntu 24.04-Veeam. So the process has begun in order to restore actually the Ubuntu 24.04 to new virtual machine, and of course we have kept the old one as it is, so we didn't choose the option to overwrite the old virtual machine. Okay, so you can see the process is pretty simple, pretty straightforward using Veeam here actually. Okay, so that was just a brief video to show you how to use the native support for Proxmox on the Veeam 12.2 actually version. Okay, so if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any further content. And of course, if you have any suggestions for future video, drop them in the comments below. As always, I hope it has been informative for you, and I want to thank you for viewing. Bye bye.